and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. It is a Wednesday. We got 7 games today on the main slate. James, you were on the playbook. We've had some injury news come out earlier today. Fred VanVleet out for Houston as they're on their back-to-back here. We're waiting on some injury news for a few other names. Some big names are returning. For a 7-game slate, a lot of action happening here, James.
Yeah, a lot of action, and there wasn't a lot of movement on really any front until the Fred VanVleet situation took place, because despite having stars everywhere questionable, that's all they've been all day, and there wasn't any value that's opened up. And you saw, like, upon first ownership run, Derrick Rose was really popular, and you pointed out that everyone's favorite backup point guard Jalen Noel was super popular upon initial ownership, and that's obviously come down as ownership has opened up a little bit here and there. But it is definitely probably need 1 or 2 more value pieces to like really feel comfortable at things. But it's another day where we talked about it yesterday. You look up and down the ownership, and I'm just scrolling right now.
Fair balance day.
Dude, 9.9K LeBron James is the first player that, like, as a spend up, I'm getting 5.8% projected.
Right.
Like, there's just, and that is in large part due to people not trusting the value. Is Aaron Holiday? I mean, 4,100. He hasn't been $4,000 all year. It's another case.
We were due for the Aaron Holiday like spot start after I was just making fun of him for the show yesterday. Yep. So
Yep. Yeah, very, very poetic there. And who knows if he even does start. Like, they could just elect to go Jalen Green starting point guard and just go massive with, like, Brooks and Tari Eason if Eason plays. Like, there's a bunch of different things they could do. But, yeah, I mean, there's, still news to be had. Keegan Murray was also ruled out. I think that was kind of expected after he was ruled out pretty early yesterday. Usually that takes place. So still waiting on a bunch of news. 7 games, as you mentioned, couple blowouts in play here. The Denver game is definitely a blowout, potential 9. It opened at 7. Now it's at 8.5, 9. Orlando, 10-point favorites at home against Washington. Orlando has won 7 games in a row. So couple blowouts, couple games over 230. But it should be an interesting slate nevertheless.
Agreed. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat here. Rex asking us, for stacking in tournaments, are we targeting 4 or 5 players? You and I talked about this. It really depends on who is in and out of lineups. I mean, yesterday, the winning GPP lineup had 4 Miami Heat in them. It really all depends on the situation, the price of the players, and the game that you're going for. If you're looking at a game the other day where we had Atlanta and Indy that had a 250 total basically and went over for 300 points, we were playing multiple players in that game, 4 or 5 total players in that game. So it's difficult to say, like, when you're stacking a game, you want X amount of players, because there's just a lot of circumstance that depends on how many players that ends up being. If there is a good game, maybe I go 3 max. I'll go 2 on one side, 1 on the other. But pricing plays a lot into that, and as does the overall roster construction there.
Yeah, nothing really to add to what you just said, but it is just really dependent on who's in, who's out, as it is with price and stuff, because the Heat just had Jimmy Butler out yesterday. But we've seen scenarios where, like Denver the other night, they were down their 3 best players, and it was Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Jordan, Justin Holiday were all in, like, winning lineups, because, maybe Michael Porter would have been in more lineups if he, like, there was probably so many. I would have gone max. Like, I did go max 4 in some scenarios. So it all depends. Also, don't think, like, game stacking in NBA is definitely not as necessary as it is in like other sports, because I think in a case like tonight, who do you want to play from Washington? Like, I would be okay stacking the Magic if you think that game they can get like 35 minutes out of everyone, but like who would you even want to play from Washington against like the number 2 defense in the NBA? So I don't think
you play Kuzma, but it's not a great matchup for him,
right. Right. So like I think it's very dependent on like the situation, and sometimes stacking in games is not even a thing in the NBA.
Agreed. All circumstantial there. Gabriel saying, thinking LBJ is a good play, but Booker might be a lock if Durant misses time again. I mean, Booker's been really good, really regardless. But
Yep.
yeah, you have Booker here if there's no Durant at 10-3 here going up against Toronto. Hopefully we'll get that news. That's a 7:30 start. We have 2 games starting at 7 p.m. tonight, so those will kick off first. Let's hope we get some of that injury news here prior to roster lock.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a good place to start if you want to just jump into things, because Booker's been playing point guard. So Poetic, we just start here. 10.3K on DraftKings. I'm okay with it. 146 minutes without Beal and Kevin Durant this year. Devin Booker, 1.6 fantasy points per minute, 39% usage rate. So, pretty good. 1.6 fantasy points per minute, 39% usage rate. Nothing too shabby there. So, yes, Devin Booker is close to a lock. He gets the Raptors on the second leg of a back-to-back in this game. So
Dennis Schroeder defense.
Yeah, I mean, no issues getting Devin Booker in any formats of Kevin Durant. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks with Phoenix as a whole. But and like you said, I'd be okay getting to like Devin Booker at 10-3 is not my favorite play with Durant, but I'm also not I think that's even
it's
lower.
It's a super contrarian play today because no one's paying anybody up over like basically $8,500. No one's really going higher than that. It's all single digit rostership. So, De'Aaron Fox back to back at home against the Clippers, Maxey here on the road against the Pelicans. Both have, the upside they can bring to the table. Cade at 85. Price keeps getting jumping up on him. He's obviously been pretty good, but comfortable enough at home against the Lakers to pay that price tag. We have some mild reservations potentially on him being able to pay off that one. You have a bunch of guys here that are listed as questionable or probable. McCollum expected to return or will play today. We're waiting on Jamal Murray. Clarkson just got bumped to probable, so Clarkson's good to go here. Harden's at 78. When we talked about this morning, we kind of just focused in on Booker and then kind of dropped down into this like lower range. Are you still feeling that way after doing the playbook today?
I actually like Tyrese Maxey a little bit here. $9,200. Philly in a pace-up spot against New Orleans. I mean, look, he had the one blow-up game. He's had a lot of really, really good games as well. We haven't seen like the consistent pop from Maxey, but I mean, hey, 46, 47, 34, 45, 51, 45 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games is A-okay with me at 9,200 in a pace-up spot, in one of the best just basketball games of the night. So I like Tyrese Maxey tonight. Like, if you can't get to Embiid, why not play his number 2? On the year, Maxey, 26% usage rate, 1.19 fantasy points per minute. And again, like, has a 50 actual point ceiling in a game that Joel Embiid played. So if you're talking about just ceilings, like Tyrese Maxey has as high as anyone on the slate. So yeah, I think if I'm not playing Devin Booker at the top, I would probably just get Tyrese Maxey, and then it's just dropping down to the next tier.
Sure. Hartley saying he's playing Oscar Thompson. Listen, last couple of first halves, like Oscar Thompson been awesome. And then the second half, he like stops playing basketball. So it'd be great if we could get a full game out of him lately. I don't know if necessarily matchup against the Lakers is that spot, but a low roster tournament dart. We know the ceiling could be there. And again, he's been really good in the first half of games. Maybe go take a look at some of his like first half like PRA props and see what those numbers look like. It could be a bet worth making. In the 6K and below range, where are we looking to go here today?
Not much. I mean, you and I like kind of were flabbergasted a little bit when we saw Cole Anthony, $6,700. I think that kind of took us by surprise, but I get it. He's been really good for them. 54, 34, 26, 37 fantasy points. He's been at 29 plus minutes in 4 straight games. They ruled out Markelle Fultz again. Anthony Black is the starter. Does not matter. He does not play any minutes. It's the Cole Anthony show. And Washington's one of those teams where you just give everyone on the opposing side a bump, because like whatever their fantasy point per minute average is, you give them just a bump because they are number one in pace and they're the second worst defense in the NBA. Like that is rare air to find someone that fast and that bad defensively. So Cole Anthony, although the price is has really risen, it's not comfortable. I would get there.
I like that in these blowout games too. He's still getting his minutes.
Yeah. So like 6,700 is fine. Shorter is okay. $6,400. Like, not great. Fine. The Keontae George thing is a little interesting. His price on FanDuel is definitely better, sub 6K. Jordan Clarkson comes back, 3 assists. Jordan Clarkson doubles, right? And like,
yeah, that feels like a rare thing because he was getting these high assist numbers with Clarkson in the starting lineup before.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, like, that's just funny how that works out. Like, sometimes, and Jordan Clarkson, obviously, like, conversely, you would think, like, oh, Jordan Clarkson is going to take all these shots. Him and Keontae George almost took the same amount of shots in this game.
Keontae's offensive game has kind of found itself the last few games here for him.
Sure. So I'm okay getting to Keontae George. It's a really appealing game in Utah, Memphis, and the ownership suggests that. But all roads lead to Jaden Ivey, 5,700. You like said it perfectly on the show this morning, like how good DraftKings has kind of been with quickly rising like with prices and quickly getting up to speed with prices. But I think better than they have been in years past. But then there's Jaden Ivey.
Right.
And they haven't risen his price all that much. As a starter, 16.5 points, 4.3 assists, 4 rebounds, 1.3 blocks and steals combined, nearly 30 fantasy points a game. 5.7K. It is only a 7-point spread. Detroit has lost 13 games in a row. But they, even in these games where they're getting blown out in like second halves, because it has, like, Indy was close first half. Washington was a close first half. And then Kuzma takes over, and Halliburton and / company, Nembhard had a really good second half. And that, like, they're still playing him 32, 33 minutes. So Jaden Ivey, 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy this year, can expect probably something similar to that. And if not, if he continues to play 32, 33 the way he's playing, I wouldn't expect anything less than like a fantasy point per minute. So yeah, I think 5,700 is a good price.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Monk here tonight?
More of a FanDuel play again for me.
Okay.
He's cheap over there again. Like, he was very good. He closed last night in that game, and obviously hit the game winner on a wild, like, sideways winding.
I told you we should have bet them second half when they were down 15.
Yes, and you could have got a plus 10, and they won
out. I talked about taking them plus 10. I talked about betting money line. It was like plus 425 at halftime on the money line. And we placed neither bet. So
no lead is safe in the NBA these days. But Monk was super good down the stretch of that game. Still very cheap over on FanDuel. I think it is 51, 52. He's 5,300 on FanDuel, point guard, shooting guard. So I prefer him there. I think that is a better spot for him.
Sure.
And then it's like you drop down basically. I think Derrick Rose. Well, Derrick Rose 44, and then Aaron Holiday 41. I think those would probably be like the two values.
If Goodwin starts, any interest?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Goodwin's fine. If he started, I think that would be Albert. What's going on, dude? I think Goodwin 51. He'd have to be starting for me to play him over Aaron Holiday.
Okay.
No sure thing Aaron Holiday starts, but like. Udoka does not have a deep rotation, and he has firmly been entrenched in it. So, like, just naturally, you'd think
we've just been down the Aaron Holiday road before.
I know. I'm not saying we have. I'm not saying we haven't.
It's not generally good.
They don't have other point guards though. Like, they have wing depth. They have
they have Şengün.
They have Şengün. They called up Nate Hinton. He is active on this team. They have I don't know if you know Cam Whitmore, but Cam Whitmore, if he were, dude, he has never seen a shot he doesn't like. So like they have
Right.
like these pieces that they can play off the bench, but none of them are like guards. Hinton is a guard, so maybe they see Hinton seeing
No, I agree with you that Holiday probably starts. I just don't think it's. I don't
4,100 because it's
I don't know if
4,100.
I don't know if he's a good play. Like I don't know.
Well, do you see Heron Holiday playing in blowout?
I mean, probably, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, he's obviously been a little bit better in his limited sample size that we've seen from him. But like in the past, we've gotten games where he has started on other teams for us, and like he hasn't been great. He hasn't been, his one big sample size here obviously is kind of lending to it, but he hit all of his shots. And he had 4 steals. So
if this slate was starting right now and we had no other value, I would probably have Aaron Holiday in my lineup. Sure. Just because there's not like I mentioned Derrick Rose, 44. Derrick Rose has probably a 24-minute ceiling. I've talked about it a bunch of times the last few slates that there was upside for him to play more minutes, but he just was in blowouts. And why are you risking Derrick Rose's knees in blowouts, right? Like there's no point in that. So if the slate started right now, I would have Aaron Holiday just solely based on not having we're just starved for value. That's also because I am not one that wants just an $8,500 player to start my lines. I want to get to like an Embiid, right? So if Aaron Holiday is starting tonight, I'm gonna have some interest. And we've had some talk about it in the Discord today. It's like, well, they're gonna get smacked. And they might. I mean, they're in Denver on a second leg of a back-to-back, right?
Yeah.
The NBA is weird, dude. The NBA can be very weird sometimes. I'm not saying that Aaron Holiday and Houston don't score 72 points tonight, but like their starting point guard who plays 40 minutes a night is not there. And Jayshawn Tate, who plays 17 to 20 minutes off the bench, is not there.
Yeah.
And Tari Eason is questionable on a back-to-back. What if he's not there, right? There's just a lot of minutes to go around, and I could see a ceiling minutes game at Aaron Holiday. And even if a 5x return at 4,100 is what we get, that's good for a slate that's starved of value. So that's my final opinion on Aaron Holiday. And it's not like one that's like obviously like, take that for you can view it, not you, but just like view it how you want as someone who is taking the slate in. So
hardly saying he rostered the Shaq Holiday duo. Well, don't do that tonight if those guys are in. You're not going to play DeAndre Jordan with Jokic playing here tonight. So just be on the lookout for the injury report there for Denver. All right, shooting guard side, we talked Booker already. I like Paul George a lot today. I'm just going to give him a pass for what happened in Denver in that game, or against Denver rather in that game. Still played 37 minutes. He just missed all of his shots, gave you 8 more rebounds here. So, I mean, the rebounding super consistent. Assists have been great. I just expect the scoring there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little contrarian too, because if there's if there's one Clipper the field's getting to, it's Kawhi tonight, and I understand because the Kawhi's price is $800 cheaper, $800 cheaper than Paul George, but I mean, he's been super consistent in the games leading up to that, 42, 48, 43, 46, 44, 55, 47 fantasy points in the games prior. He has been playing all the minutes. He has been the clear best player since requiring James Harden. So, yeah, he was in foul trouble in that game. And the Ivica Zubats game, where were you when that happened? Like, it's just there was a lot of weird things going on.
He did have 3 offensive rebounds on one possession, though. So
he did, and still didn't score on that possession. True. So
I got Bane here just below him at 85.
Yep, very good, very good. Memphis is really Memphis is so popular tonight. I get it.
It's a game. It's a matchup against Utah. Again, we've seen this one quite a few times now already. In the Discord was brought up Jalen Green, and without Fred VanVleet, a monster usage and fantasy point per minute boost. We do talk a lot of though. There's an article written at this point probably like 10 years ago, but we referenced it a bunch. Like statistically, the worst back-to-back in the NBA was second leg in Denver, and that's what Houston's facing here. Second leg of a back-to-back going into Denver here. But you mentioned like shortened rotations, a lot of minutes could be going Jalen Green's way here. Opportunities will certainly be there. Is he somebody that you're riding with as a core play in lineups today?
I think so. And obviously it's scary. But again, sometimes you follow the numbers and sometimes the numbers let you down, but the numbers are screaming like Jalen Green's favor. I mean, John, 12.6% usage increase for Jalen Green with Fred VanVleet off the floor. That is not like normal, right? That's not
No,
normal.
it's huge. Usually you see like 3 or 4%. So.
Yeah. 40, and it's a bump to 40 point, if you want to round up, 41%. So like
what's the minutes on this?
120 minutes.
Okay. That's
so
crazy.
Like not like a massive sample, but you can see that's, I mean, a product of if the 7 to 8 minutes that VanVleet doesn't play a game, you get Jalen Green on the floor with the second unit, right? Because Jalen Green has been the early sub, and VanVleet plays the first quarter, and you get Jalen Green ball dominant player. But John, we talked about this the last couple years with the Kevin Porter thing. Like, you took Kevin Porter off the floor, and Jalen Green was a completely different player.
Yep.
He was the de facto point guard for them, but he just was always scoring more. So like, I know that it's a really tough back-to-back, and I'm fully aware of the situation. It's the same thing with Aaron Holiday, but like now we're paying $2,700 more.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into this thinking that like, I mean, if you think this game can stay competitive, Jalen Green and his 40% usage rate are at the forefront of that. Obviously with Şengün too, but I do think that there's some merit to going to Jalen Green if you think that this game can stay close.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing with Fred VanVleet too, is like, while the assist numbers for him have been pretty elite, like the offensive scoring really hasn't been there the last like few games for him. So like the facilitation, I think, is going to be the interesting thing. Who's running the offense? Because if they have more of, like you said, Holiday just playing the VanVleet thing, so he's just getting 10 assists tonight because he's just passing off to everybody. Certainly an interesting spot here. We did mention Orlando here. Jacob saying on FanDuel you can play 3 Magic and fit the Joker well. FanDuel pricing is always kind of soft. What 3 Magic are we looking at? Cole Anthony, I would imagine 1. Hopefully Banchero would be 2. Just curious to see what your third Orlando piece would be there. Horter had a great night last night. Again, we'll never figure out the nights to play this guy, I don't think. Maybe if Keegan is out again, like
he's out. He's out.
Okay.
Out.
Is that like a pathway for Horter, or was he just hot and they left him out there? Like, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he's a GPP play. He fits really well on FanDuel. He's $5,100. I'd rather play him over there.
Sure. Where other places are we looking at shooting guard? You got any interest in Eric Gordon at 59 if there's people out tonight?
Yeah. Yes. If there's people out, for sure. Same thing kind of can be said about Anthony Pollo. Anthony, Paolo, and Franz. Yeah.
So he's got the top 3. Yeah. Then you can play all of those 3 with Joker. It's pretty good.
Yeah, Paolo's under 8K on FanDuel. So it's
Would you worry about overloading Orlando and being wary of a blowout here?
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's definitely a thought. I've had the thought. 10-point spread. They're winners of 7 straight. Number 2 defense in the NBA, and they're home. Yeah. For sure. I've definitely taken a step back on, like, because when we were doing the show last night, I was in on Orlando heavy, and then the more you think about it, you're like, like, if this game blows out, there's obviously somebody doing a lot, right? Yeah. It's likely that,
or it could be spread out. I mean, the Celtics won by 30 last night. Pretty much everybody had an even game.
True. I would say I'm definitely not going to overload it, but if that game does stay competitive, I mean, you're number 2 pace, number 1 pace, second worst defense in the NBA. So I don't like the rest of this position, by the way. Like,
I'm getting to Norm. I've gotten to Norm in lineups.
Okay. I mean, Norm is probably priced appropriately for me. I don't think there's like much value on it anymore, but if that's where you like, if you end up on Norm Powell at 5K, it's
if he gets me 25 fantasy points at 5K, like, I'm happy with that. That's in the range. So
there's just like, the Clippers are still just trying to figure things out, in my opinion, and I don't know on a night-to-night basis if it's going to be Westbrook getting the extended run or Terrence Mann getting the
I
extended
think in
run.
a competitive game, Norm closes. I think what happened,
I mean, that was competitive though. That was the Denver game was they were winning, and then Reggie Jackson and whatever happened at the end.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, a little bit, I guess. I feel like we've seen in more of the closer games he's been out there, but I mean, I guess we'll see. I like Norm here at 5K. Just again for also just like the lack of other value options. I'm gonna say like he's a guy at 5K that I know will at least shoot when on the floor.
Agreed.
And has a scoring upside if he hits. Because like you said, like after that down here, there really isn't anything, especially if Denver's healthy. Like we talked about Justin Holiday, like guys are ruled out again. Like I guess we just have to play Justin Holiday because he's playing 35 minutes, but we don't have to do that now if Gordon's going to be in and all those guys. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting at. Harley saying that he likes Harrison Barnes. I did get a Harrison Barnes lineup on FanDuel today, James. I mean, he's cheap. He's cheap. He's cheap on DraftKings too. That's Scotty Barnes. We want Harrison Barnes here. I mean, another 20 plus fantasy points out of him. Shoots from 3. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. Decent little run here. I mean, 4 of the last 6 or 4 of the last 5 of the last 6 games, over 23 fantasy points.
Dude, white bread Harry Barnes being exactly what he is, white bread Harry Barnes. I mean, there's nothing appealing. There's nothing that's
it's safe though.
He does nothing wrong. There's just, unless it's Sammy Watkins game 1, there's no ceiling. Right. There's a ceiling on night 1. There's no ceiling outside of that. But yeah, I mean, no Keegan Murray always opens up an opportunity for.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, he's just cheap. He's just cheap. Yep. I agree with you. Cheap enough, honestly.
We're starved for value.
We're starved for value here. Small forward. Again, I went into last night. I said I like LeBron and Anthony Davis. Still worried maybe this game blows out. And this is
definitely a chance.
It's Detroit. So
yeah,
if you get there, you can get there. You mentioned LeBron's the highest rostered spend up on the slate here tonight
at 5%. At 5%,
right? No one's. It's just a full fair and balanced day today. I've mentioned liking Paul George, Scotty Barnes. What's your thoughts on Toronto here tonight?
I like Siakam's price better than I like Barnes' price.
Sure.
I do like Scotty Barnes' price, and I think, we just saw it. He went 5 for 19 from the floor and had almost 50 fantasy points. Like, there's the nights where he's going to hit all his shots and he's going to break slates and stuff, but far less of those.
2 or 3. I mean, 3 or 4.
Yeah. If you get to Scotty Barnes, he has great eligibility. He is going to play a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mentioned Franz already at 75. I don't really love that price tag for him on DraftKings personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Osor again, if you can get it going a full game, the numbers could be there for Reeves off the bench. Aldama 64. I mean, he didn't start that second half like you mentioned. They played Roddy, but still probably a really good spot for him here. On a 7-game slate, again, I feel like we've had some tough luck when it comes to the value that we're looking at down here.
Yeah, I don't want to be dismissive of these positions, just move on and stuff, but
sometimes you have to cut your player pool down. We talked about that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a need to force these players into our lines. What if Tari Eason plays 4,400, John? I would be good with Tari Eason. 21 minutes last night, 24 fantasy points. You want to talk about a high fantasy point per minute guy? Tari Eason is that. I mean, no Tate, no Van Vliet. Who's to say Tari Eason isn't the guy in the starting lineup for them?
Yeah, for sure. I guess my worry with Tari Eason is that he'd been sitting back-to-backs, and now if he's going to be active on a back-to-back, do we think he's going to get more run? How protective are they on him here?
Yeah, I guess that is definitely a valid question. But I think if he plays, you probably feel good that they feel good about his status moving forward. Him, I would say it's different for when we talk about someone like Jonathan Isaac, because Jonathan Isaac has been the most unhealthy basketball player in recent memory, other than Derrick Rose probably. Where Tari Eason's second year in the league, yeah, he missed the entire first month of the year and has even not played back-to-backs, but I feel like you would feel good about Tari Eason's status if he were to suit up.
Sure.
The 21 minutes last night is great. I will just say that. Like, he is such a good fantasy per minute guy that if he were in the lineup, I'd feel pretty comfortable getting there at 4,400. So
yeah, no, we know what kind of monster he can be. Alex wanted to know, do we like Lakers versus Pistons over or under? It's funny. I just went and checked a couple of websites that I use that they kind of have like consensus picks, and it's literally split. It's 50-50 on the over and the under. This one. It's 229.5. I want to lean probably the under, but I don't know. What do you think, James?
I will lean with you, but I mean, the Pistons give up they give up so many points that I'll go. I'll split the difference and go over just because if LeBron plays, I don't foresee the Pistons being able to stop them. And we've seen second half. Look at the team. Indiana and Washington blew them out.
I'm more so like, does Detroit score enough? I guess.
Touche.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of looking. All right, we talked about some of these other guys down here already. Lakers money line better or Lakers minus 5.5? I'd probably do the Lakers 5.5. The money line's probably you're not going to get any value on that. So Lakers minus 5.5 is fine for me there. Of course, we got to wait for if you can hold off, I'd rather wait for the definitive LeBron James news.
Yeah, well, it's 7. Well, no, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a 7 o'clock lock time here. So, Alex, if you can hold off on that bet right away, the line's not going to move too much on you. Wait just to find out and make sure LeBron is going to play because he's still listed as questionable here. So,
John, I'll just throw this out there just because we're at small forward. Would not surprise me, and I don't really want to play Reggie Bullock, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was starting, or it wouldn't surprise me if we saw some Cam Whitmore tonight. Neither guy I'm like entirely interested in unless they were starting. Just throwing it out there. Also, shout out Jalen Noel, the God. Cannot believe he has small forward eligibility. Also,
shooting guard, small forward, Jalen Noel's got was it like 8% rostership right now? It was 20% during the first run of the day.
It was.
I would still probably give him a look.
So like
they don't have he's on a hardship contract. Like that's how few people they have.
If you are in a single entry, I'm not playing Jalen Noel. But if you're playing 20 lineups, 150 lineups, definitely having some Jalen Noel. I'm not saying he's not going to play. I'm just like,
this dude's dropped 10x on us before.
He has. I'm doing a lot of times. I mean, we have played a lot of Jalen. We were playing Jalen Noel like 5K at times when he was in Minnesota. That was like last year.
Yeah. The Cam Whitmore one is interesting because he was drafted by them this year.
So good, dude. He is a certified bucket getter, and even if he shoots so much. If he's on the floor, he is going to shoot so much. So if you want to
G League stats.
If you want to predict some blowout run here, you play Cam Whitmore because he is.
Cam Whitmore's averaging 24, 6, and 4 in the G League.
That surprises me that he's not averaging more points. What are the shot attempts is what I want to know. Like so many shots.
17.5 field goal attempts, 9.7 3-point attempts, shooting 43% from 3. So
just saying, first round pick.
He was a first round. That's what I'm saying. He was a first round pick.
Certified bucket getter.
Yeah.
Just again, we're not sitting here saying he is a core play in any stretch of the imagination.
Just mentioning the rotation.
Just mentioning that this game could get out of hand and Cam
Reddish remains probable. I'm guessing we're going to get the
LeBron.
Probably get the LeBron news here. If Fontecchio starts again, any interest? They did rule Olynyk probable for tonight.
As the last piece in, he's fine.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. This is where I miss the Hawks, right? This is where I want the Hawks to with that. I just need them on my slate, or like the Pacers.
I think the power forward position is probably the best position of the day. Unfortunately, they're all mid-tier players.
Well, you mean the cover of your playbook today is Sharon Jackson Jr.
I mean this is a dangerous game, right? We've gone down this road.
We're at 4 early. You know that, right? I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there.
Like, there has been few more disappointing. I mean, like, think about fantasy in general this year. There's had to be, on one hand, few disappointing players as Jaren Jackson, right? Because he was getting drafted close to first rounds, like mid-second round, and we saw last year, no John Morant. He was like a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy. But the fouls have they gotten worse? Like, it feels like they've gotten worse than they have been in
The last couple
past.
games haven't been great, but the blocks have obviously gone down this year.
Yeah.
It's never been a great rebounder. The shooting is very inconsistent.
Yes.
Now again, like maybe some tougher spots: Minnesota, Phoenix, Houston, Boston. You give him a little bit of a pass. Utah. He's got Utah here for like the 6th time this year. It's really the second. But
we have 50 bombs early in the year, which that's what I think we're getting here if he stays out of foul trouble. But it's like that's the A through Z problem with Jaren Jackson. It's just like,
I think he played 23 minutes in this game. That's what I want to
know. He left. I think he left one of those games.
This one he only played 26 due to the blowout. That was the day that
they just got
Utah
80% shooting.
They didn't miss a shot. Yeah. But he's stuck. Everybody's playing there. So, like, if you're not, you got Paolo, you got Siakam, Kuzma. If Durant plays, I like Durant at 10K.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned everybody's playing Kawhi because he's coming off of a ceiling game. I'd rather not chase the Kawhi Leonard ceiling game. I'd rather just play Paul George, who's been consistently good this whole time. So,
yeah, I also think, again, it was a price point thing, just given what was available to us today and still is kind of available. Like, you can save 800 to go to Kawhi. Definitely has worse eligibility than Paul George. Paul George is much more flexible on your roster construction, but yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I also think like some more mid-tier plays opened up with Santi at 64. You mentioned at small forward, but Jabari Smith now 6,100, had another good game last night. Now there's no Van Vliet. Jabari Smith, the last 4 games, 32, 41, 35, 36 fantasy points, 9+ rebounds in all those games, 16+ points in all those games. He has a block and all. Like, Jabari Smith is balling. So, like, there's a lot to like at power forward. I wish Jabari had multi-position eligibility, but that's for a different conversation. But yeah, I do like this mid-tier on a whole scale. Jaren Jackson being my favorite, but obviously scary chalk season with Jaren Jackson.
For sure. Value, power forward. Anybody off the page for you here?
I mean, old man Batum isn't too bad there, John. I get it, and I sent you something that will break out at the next position. He's been a 100-minute sample with him, Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey that I want to bring to the forefront. But I mean, he's been a 0.7 fantasy per minute guy this year with Philly. It's not great. It's not terrible for a $4,200 player. We've gotten a ceiling in 2 straight games. If it's a competitive game, he's going to play 30 minutes starting for Nick Nurse, right? I mean, he's had a 33-minute ceiling this year. Just played 32 minutes in a competitive game the other day. So I don't think the steals and the blocks are like overly reliable. But when you remember Nick Batum,
he's been a good shooter. He's been an efficient shooter, right?
He has been. Which is like this, like the last 2 games gives you like, if you're just getting into like the NBA, like this is what Nick Batum did basically for like 10 years, where he just like scored.
Especially the last 3 years with the Clippers.
Yeah, especially the last 3 years with the Clippers. But I'm just saying like did a little of everything, right? Like Nick Batum, when he got his like max contract, was doing everything. Yeah. So
he's not my favorite play of the slate by any stretch, but he's a value play. So
he's a value play that you can get to at $4,200 on a slate with no value, like we keep saying. So, I would say Nick Batum would be the guy. I don't know if there's anyone else you would throw into the mix in this range. Like Bates Diop is obviously in play if everyone for Phoenix sits, but we probably don't know that by luck. Yeah. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Because Nasir Little is out for Phoenix as well. So,
yeah, there really isn't. I mean, obviously, I always just throw John Isaac's name out there just in case. a decent upside with him, but it's just the minutes. The minutes have been capped at 20 on the year. His highest output there. And he's only 41 now. He's not, not cheaper. Gabriel
Right.
saying to Kogi, if Durant's out, yeah, KBD or Kogi, whoever starts there, both are going to be in play. JLP says he's all in on Jabari tonight. Yeah, listen, we played him last night. Certainly had a good game.
Yep.
No Van Vliet. There's going to be some upside potential for him there, so I'm fine. Wendy's or McDonald's for cash games. James, you're not a McDonald's guy, right? Have we talked about this?
Absolutely not a McDonald's guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendy's if you're picking between the two, but isn't Chick-fil-A like the cash? Isn't Chick-fil-A the cash answer here? That's an option
in the area, maybe, but
that's not. Yeah, I guess
you could also be looking for a burger. So if you want a burger, Wendy's. So I my first job was at Wendy's, but I prefer McDonald's hamburger over a Wendy's hamburger. We're going there. And there's nothing better than a McDonald's breakfast sandwich, and I'll fight on that. So
I could not agree less.
Never been to a Whataburger.
No, I don't even know what a Whataburger is.
Never been to a Whataburger. And I also think that In-N-Out Burger is overrated. I'll just say
Dude, I'm
probably the worst French fry of any burger restaurant chain.
100% agree. I am on that island with you. I'll fight. Me and you will be Jon Snow when Jon Snow whips out the sword and all the White Walkers are running at him.
There's nothing good about an In-N-Out burger, that's for sure. Is there Five Guys near you, James? I like Five Guys. Five Guys is around.
Well, they cook in peanut oil, so
that's true. That would kill you.
I cannot do that. Yeah,
that would murder you. That is true. You can't even walk in there. They have like peanuts all over.
No, yeah, never. I've actually I've never once been inside of a Five Guys.
You feel the same way about like a Texas Roadhouse then, because of the peanuts?
Never once have been in a Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, they just let peanuts fly everywhere.
I did a bar crawl in college, and the last bar we went to had that, and I didn't know it. 10 seconds in, I was like, I can't be here.
Can't breathe.
I have to leave. So.
Yeah. All right, let's go to center here. Position again. We talked about it. Nobody's playing the top centers. Jokic, Embiid, Sabonis, Davis. I like them all. Sabonis will probably be my last center of the group. I think AD could be in a really great spot, especially if LeBron sits against Detroit. He'd probably go for 70 if it was AD by himself against Pistons tonight. Yep. I would rather pay the 11-8 for Embiid than the 12-8 for Joker, just given the matchup and the cost and what we've seen out of Embiid here lately. But if you told me I am putting any one of these top 5 centers in your lineup tonight, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer. Now there's probably going to be a right answer.
There'll definitely be a right answer.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a wrong answer. I would probably actually lean Embiid as my top center if I could comfortably build around him. And I sent it to you earlier today, but he's played 99 minutes with Batum and Maxey. I know it's a random pairing, but I was looking more so at Nick Batum, the fantasy minutes. 2.13 fantasy points per minute. And that obviously stems from, 1, Batum's shooting, because he's been good. 2, Maxey's 40+% shooter from 3. And Embiid's willingness to pass and just doing everything. So Embiid probably 1 for me. Şengün probably 2. I know this is crazy. Jokic is not number 1 or number 2, but he's 12.8K on a slate with no value, dude. Like if there was value to open up, maybe I change my tune there. But if you're if you're comfortable in your lineup with Derrick Rose, Nick Batum, Aaron Holiday, all of them, I like 1 or 2 of them in my lineup max. If you like all of those guys in your lineup, then sure, play Jokic and hope to God that the oldest lineup in the history of lineups comes through for you, because but Embiid and Şengün would be at the forefront. Anthony Davis right behind them.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the mid tier, Jalen Duran obviously looks pretty good, but he's got to stay out of foul trouble against Anthony Davis here. And then you have the battle in Phoenix, Toronto, Nurkic and Poeltl. Both of those 2 guys probably looking pretty solid in the mid tier. We talked Walker Kessler. He's in your playbook here tonight. Could be coming off the bench still, but we think there's a pretty decent ceilings minute ceiling for him potentially. And then you pick the right Daniel Gafford day, and you got a guy that's going to give you 8x. So,
yeah, I mean, the Daniel Gafford thing is very hard to predict, but he does have a massive ceiling. The Kessler thing is interesting to me because they put him on that minutes limit, 21 to 25 minutes, and then he played the ceiling of that, and even 1 minute, like surpassed that by 1 minute, playing 26 minutes in this game. And even if he comes off the bench, I'm kind of comfortable with it because he's looked so good coming off the bench. I mean, back-to-back games of 30 plus fantasy points, and if you want to, I'm not going to stretch that to 3 because the game prior to the injury, he just looked a little better since the injury. This is a guy who, is an elite shot blocker. He's an elite rebounder, and he has a lot of shots just at the rim. I know he's trying to shoot threes. I don't advise that very much because he hasn't necessarily looked all that good at doing so, but there's a ceiling. And like, even if Yurt 7 starts, Yurt 7, like if the minutes cap on Kessler continues to rise, I mean, Yurt 7 could play 20, Kessler can go to 28. It could be 18-30 split Kessler's way.
What does Olynyk coming back here do for this? Is Olynyk back up to 4 now? Like,
yeah, they straight played 48 minutes at center last game because Olynyk played, didn't he?
No, I think he missed the last game. Or do I have that incorrect? 11:27. No, I guess he played 19 minutes in that game.
Yeah, I think
he's backing up Collins.
Yeah, him and Collins had the even split at the 4, and Yurt 7 and Kessler had the 48 minutes at center. So there's obviously, like, you're not wrong in theory. Like, if they want to play Kelly O at center, that could 3 minutes, 4 minutes, like he could do that. But I definitely like the fact that they split the 48 at center between two guys, and Kessler saw the majority of the run. So Low and Walker Kessler in tournaments is very appealing to me in this game.
Where else are we looking at the center position today?
I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, like, you can. There's obviously like contingencies if the guys in Phoenix are out. Nurkic 6,700. I like that. Jakob Poeltl. When the hell does Jakob Poeltl play 30 minutes? That's the question of the day. Because he had been playing 30, John, and then just randomly like 25.
Yeah.
I mean, that game was like pretty competitive throughout. I'm gonna popcorn machine it just to see if we like lost out Jakob Poeltl minutes. Like, he basically closed the game. So if he closes the game, he would have played 28 minutes. So I guess that's on par, but they decided they even closed with the starters and Gary Trent. So that's kind of discouraging that Jakob Poeltl loses time there. So
Larry Nance ruled out for tonight. Maybe gives you a little bit more minutes to J-Val.
Could, yeah. They also dust off old Cody goggles over there.
Yeah, that's true. Someone's got to take 4 fouls from Embiid, right?
Someone has to take 4 fouls. Yeah, Larry Nance is like, dude, come on, like, Cody, get out there tonight. You got this. You got this backup run. Yeah, I mean, maybe some extra run from Valanciunas, but that's obviously a scary proposition. I mean, not that Valanciunas isn't a very skilled offensive player, but he also, fouled out of a couple games in pretty fast times this year. So, yeah.
Let's go ahead and build a lineup here. What do you think?
Yeah.
Where are we starting?
Jaren Jackson. Let's go triple. I want to play Triple J. I know it's a scary thought and not the most comfortable thought in the world, but
are we going Kessler or are we spending up for Embiid?
What do you think? Give me your thoughts on the state of the
the slate is not spending up. So if you want to play in line with the slate, you're doing a fair and balanced lineup here. If you want to be contrarian, you play JoJo, but then you're shoving in Holiday and Batum and, name your other low 4K play, right?
Just low floor after low floor after low floor play. Well, like, who's the one guy that you want to play tonight? Of
I want
any
to know
of
Paul George.
Okay, then we'll just do the fair and balance thing, because Jaden Ivey at shooting guard or point guard, probably. I would say shooting guard. I think shooting guard is just so awful.
Yeah, where is he? 57.
He's 57. Yeah.
Point guard. Did you want to do Cole Anthony, or did you have a different point guard?
Not really. I mean,
We're still
I
going
told
to
you
need to get a cheap guy in the lineup. I mean,
Aaron
Holiday's
Holiday.
fine.
I want to
fine.
play Aaron. Yeah, Aaron
Okay.
Holiday.
6K guard for detail.
Do you think Houston keeps this game close? If Denver's at full strength?
I mean, we've seen Denver lose to teams that we thought that they would beat, but again, like, I don't know if Fred VanVleet is like the.
It looks that way. It looks that way based on like how good they've been, right?
I guess. I mean, it just could be the maturity of their team and Ime Udoka coaching. Like,
true, that's true.
It's only they're down. It's just one player that they're down, right? Like,
and
sure,
but like smaller
yeah.
scale. I would say if you think that game can stay close, we probably want another either Green, Jabari Smith, or Şengün if we can get there. But Green is the most affordable, or Green's probably highest. Like, I mean, he has a 12%. He has a 40% usage rate. So
is he a guard only?
He's a guard only, yeah. So you can play Norm at forward.
Yeah, play Norm at forward. So Jalen Green, Norm.
And we'll have like Walker Kessler or something.
You got Walker Kessler in there already. 6,300.
Oh yeah, you're playing you went Kessler at center, sorry.
Jabari? Come on, just go 3-stack.
I mean, if you think the games stay close, then I'm definitely not against it.
We go to Şengün. We don't have a 3,700. We have Jalen Noel.
Oh no.
All right, let's go back down to Kessler then. Kessler.
I mean, the way you could make that work with Şengün would be going from Norm to Nick Batum. That would be but then you would have like another 4,200 player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine going the 2. Would you rather Batum or Norm here against Sacramento?
I mean, that's a hard question. Like, I like the value of Batum, but like obviously Norm is going to actually shoot the ball. Batum might go out there and just get some cardio. There's always a chance, right? There's always a chance. Batum is.
I don't know if this will even do anything, but save us a little bit of cash.
PG
$6,900. Durant, Collins, Nurkic double up with Cole Anthony and Banchero together.
Yeah, I mean that's another. If you think the game stays close.
Or, I don't even think this game needs to stay close. I just think those could be the 2 that put the game away.
True.
So, I don't know. I don't hate it. Holiday, Ivy, Powell, Triple J, Kessler, Jalen Green, Paolo Banchero, Cole Anthony there with $200 left over for your fair and balanced builds. Any final comments here, James? We'll be in the Discord, obviously, helping everybody out, giving you guys updated news and roster lock. You'll have the updated playbook as well for everybody. If any news happens to break, you'll update that section as needed. Anything else you want to say?
No, we're gonna have ownership updated at some point when we get more news, and just stay locked in on the playbook and the Discord and everything in between.
Yep. All right, everybody. If you could give us a like and subscribe to the channel, helps us out a lot. We're live here every day, 5:00 Eastern time, breaking down the slate. We do our pre-show in the mornings, released in the evenings as well, for all of you to get a head start on the day's slate. We have fantasy football coverage pretty much throughout the day here on the channel. So if you like everything we got going on here at Fantasy Alarm, subscribe, like, help us out a lot. We will be back tomorrow for Thursday's slate. Talk to you then.